in a statement saying, "It's clear that these missiles were launched from Iran and targeted at least 2 Iraqi military bases hosting US military and coalition personnel at Al-Assad and Erbil." Iranian state TV describing the attacks as a revenge operation to the US drone strike that killed General Qasem Soleimani, the top Iranian military leader blamed for the deaths of hundreds of Americans, considered by some in the US administration to be an immediate threat. An Iranian official posting a tweet of the Iranian flag, mimicking President Trump, who tweeted the American flag directly after killing Soleimani. The US-Iran conflict playing out on Iraqi soil. The attacks come just hours after Iraq's Prime Minister called for US troops to leave his country. التصويت على القرار. The Iraqi parliament has already voted to remove American military forces, although it's non-binding. Iraq now caught in the middle of this spiraling crisis between Iran and America. Ian Pannell, ABC News, in northern Iraq.
Thanks to Ian there. Now, after the missile attack, Iran's foreign minister said they are not seeking escalation or war.
He also referred to the attack as self-defense, tweeting that they will defend themselves against any aggression. The strikes capped off an emotional day in Iran where massive crowds gathered for General Qasem Soleimani's funeral, setting off a stampede that killed more than 50 people there. And hours after the attack, President Trump tweeted all is well and announced plans to make a statement later this morning.
There is beefed up security around the White House where top Pentagon and national security officials huddled last night to brief the president. ABC's Terry Moran has more.
The president was apprised right away, of course, of this attack, and he gathered around him his top national security team, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Defense Secretary Mark Esper, top military commanders, Vice President Pence, all coming to the White House in the Situation Room as these developments occurred, and they watched as the damage assessment took place. He was also calling other world leaders, including the Emir of Qatar. Qatar sometimes a go-between between Iran and the West, so he was involved diplomatically and militarily, but at the end of the night, held fire, both literally and rhetorically. Really, this is a president who's been issuing blood-curdling threats against Iran, threatening massive escalation if they retaliate for the killing of Qasem Soleimani, and nothing really at the end of the day. He has taken this dramatic action of taking off the battlefield Qasem Soleimani, one of the national heroes of Iran, and here is this response from Iran, which apparently has taken no American lives, no Iraqi lives, as far as we know at this point. It sounds as if both sides are trying to soften the tone a little bit. I mean, that's hard to say after a missile attack, but it did not kill. And I think the president's response is measured in response to that. That is essentially what one can hope, given the prospect that the region could explode in these days.
All right, our thanks to Terry. And as he mentioned, the president's response, which we're waiting to learn later this morning, a primary question is, will the U.S. hit back against Iran?
We talked about the situation earlier with ABC News national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy.
We saw that the Iranians were willing to escalate this, and they were willing to do it with ballistic missiles, which carry a much larger payload than the rockets that are normally shot at our base. However, as the evening went on, we saw that these missiles, in fact, most of them did not hit these bases, both of which are very large. And the ones that did hit mostly in areas not populated by U.S. troops. Well, I do think that signs do point to de-escalation by the manner in which they conducted this attack and the statements they made afterwards. But the military has to stay diligent because the threat is obviously real. But I think they felt that this was more of a show of force, not intended to have a significant military consequences. That's why we haven't seen any response. I think it would be surprising if the Iranians launched another overt attack of which they publicly claim credit. That would be counter to their statements. I do not think they will stop using the proxies that they've been using throughout the region. I do not think those type of attacks will stop, but I do think they may stop this overt, large-scale attacks that we saw. So after they do a battle damage assessment from yesterday's events, I believe if it appears that the Iranians do not intend to cause casualties or significant damage, that they will likely not be a response. If it appears or if it looks like there's more threats coming, then they'll have to